Why did anyone think to look at an anti-parasite drug as a possible treatment for a respiratory virus? I think for the non-medics among us, it's a hard leap to make.
Even for me in 2020, it was, strange to be hearing about this drug, which is not widely available in the UK. It's a special order. But we go back to some of the literature from 2012 even, and we can see that it was shown to have an effect against other viruses like influenza, Zika even. And so doctors like Dr. Corey, Dr. Marek, Dr. Teslori started looking at how ivermectin might be used to treat COVID. And it turns out it's got an excellent safety profile. It's actually 4 billion doses that have been used throughout that time, 2 or 3 deaths in that time. And that's due to a genetic abnormality in those people. So it's very, very safe, which is great. And actually, what does it do? One of the mechanisms of action is to block partly the spike protein, which is a protein, one of 27 or so proteins of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. It stops it from binding and causing harm and damage and preventing serious illness. So this is something that could have been used back in 2020, certainly late 2020, we were pretty sure about it, to stop people becoming unwell, needing to go to hospital. And it was shown to have an 80% reduction in mortality. Now, what we had instead was a paper that was commissioned by Liverpool University in collaboration with Unitaid, and it was discredited. This was a preprint paper, not peer-reviewed, and it was discredited, not recommended for use. People went on to suffer and die needlessly from not being prescribed something like ivermectin. It's absolutely criminal.
And what about this report then that's come up from the trial in Brazil? Does that add anything? Is it peer reviewed? Does it change our understanding, alter the mood now around ivermectin?
Well, the mood should have been altered around it a long time ago, and we have to really ask, who are the regulators working for? We've got over 80 studies on ivermectin in SARS-CoV-2. Many of them are the highest quality evidence, randomized controlled trials. And we actually got real life data in places like Brazil, as you mentioned. But there was actually a miracle that took place in the province of Uttar Pradesh in India. That has a population of around 220 million. They were suffering pretty badly with COVID infection until they started using ivermectin. And I'd encourage anyone to go to the FLCCC website and look at the epidemiological graphs that they've shown there. And you see this massive steep drop in cases, and that was replicated in other countries like Peru. COVID makes a return in Peru when the president changes and suddenly ivermectin can't be used.
If I can come to you, Professor Sally Cutler, you're listening to that. In the context of what Dr. White is saying, why was it deemed so important to dismiss all mention of ivermectin, to the point where it really was a drug that must not be named? Why?
People have looked at a number of different drugs that could potentially be repurposed and used to try and sort of have some benefit with our battle against COVID. But the data was not suitably robust. The original preprint paper that has been alluded to already, that was actually withdrawn because there was serious ethical concerns over that particular study. And so the paper was retracted. And so we've had also a number of other studies that have also been mentioned by your other speaker. And basically, a lot of these other studies were open to bias. They weren't particularly well controlled. And so they've been criticised for not being sort of a good, robust study design.